if I could go back, I would tell Lisa to love herself more. I would tell her to not rush as much as she did rush. I would tell her to be patient, to be kind to her body, to really focus on essential skills like math, and really, really focus on those things. Welcome to the Confident Podcast. I am Lisa Tarkington, your guide to mastering confidence and leadership. As the business and life coach, keynote speaker, and the driving force behind LEAD, I am here to help you break free from self-doubt, silence the imposter syndrome, and step into your power as the person you're meant to be. If you press play today, it's because you're ready for something bigger. Each week, I'll bring you real, raw conversations and actionable insights that will empower you to redefine your leadership, reclaim your confidence, and transform into the unstoppable force you've always known that you could be. This isn't just another podcast. It's a journey we're on together. So buckle up and let's dive into this transformation. Your next level awaits. Welcome, everybody, to the Confident Podcast. I am your host, Lisa Tarkington, and it's been a few weeks since I've sat in the seat and chatted with you guys about so many amazing things happening in my life and also giving you some great podcasts. But I'm back and I'm in action. But I want to take a moment to talk about the time that I just took off. So I took 2 weeks off from doing the podcast. We were going through so many transformations in the nonprofit that I lead as well in the coaching business. And I knew that I had to give myself this break. So again, I have to walk the walk. I can't just talk it, and really refocus and restructure in order to give you guys the best content out there. And that is why I had to take that break. I had to really prioritize those things right now to give you your best. And I think that's really important, and why I share that with all of you is because there's so many times where we just want to show up because we have to. And again, I have to do that sometimes in my job. But I believe that for this podcast, I want to always give you guys some real, raw, interesting things that you can take and implement into your life. And if I'm not always there, then I need to take a moment to reflect on that and do something about it. And so if I'm going to tell you guys to do these things, I'm going to also walk the walk. So I'm very proud of myself for that. And I'm also really just reiterating that sometimes it's okay to say no to things in order to make them better. You know, there are moments when I have to slow down to go fast. There's other moments when I'm on full speed because I'm so clearly focused on it. Like last night I was working on a project and I did not want to stop because I was so clearly focused on this. And there's going to be ups and downs when it comes to your confidence, leadership, well-being, all the things that we talk about. But at the end of the day, I want you to choose you. I want you to understand that there's always going to be noise in this world. There's always going to be so much going on, but you have to choose yourself at the end of the day. And this is something that continues to come up when I'm working with my clients and just anybody that is struggling. And so even though I talk a lot with you guys about all these amazing things happening in my life, I struggle too. There are moments when I'm lacking sleep or something's really getting to me and I find myself waking up at midnight thinking about a project for 3 hours. You know, but the difference is in my life now compared to what it was 6 years ago, 8 years ago, is that every tool that I teach you here is something that I implement into my life. And I think that that's important because I think it's important to note that while you might not have it all figured out, it's about the small progress and the reps that you put in. And so in my season of my life right now, I'm putting a lot of reps into different areas of my life that is very uncomfortable. And I'm currently speaking of uncomfortable, I have to share this. So I am currently taking some development classes right now. I'm in this 12-week course with Jessica Zwig. She is incredible. She wrote this book called The Light Work. And I have been following her journey for years and just very inspired by how she's progressed in her career. So I decided to take part in her business classes right now. And the other thing I have been doing is reading this book. And in one of the chapters, I can remember it so vividly that I was reading this and it said, if you feel uncomfortable, go in. And that really stuck with me. And it stuck with me because I have realized that I am in an uncomfortable season in my life. I'm learning to delegate more, trust more people, let go of things that are no longer serving me, reflecting a crap ton on the things that I want to do in my future, how I want to make an impact. And again, how am I going to choose me at the end of the day because I want to make a purpose and I want to live out that purpose. And all of that's really important. The other thing I'm really working on is getting uncomfortable going in when it comes to my relationship with money. So I have always had a scarcity mindset when it comes to money. It's something that I think I've always had but didn't want to recognize. But as I've worked on my self-awareness, as I've worked on all the tools that I teach you guys, I have noticed like that continues to show up. And I finally decided, you know what, like this is something that I want to conquer this year because it's so important to me. And so that is an area that's really uncomfortable for me. I'm having lots of conversations about money. I'm talking a lot about it more, and I'm just being very open with it. And I will tell you, it has been a game changer. But I will say there are many moments where I've had a lot of anxiety, the heart just erasing over those moments. Not only that, but I've had to get uncomfortable and go in with letting things go. Like I said, I'm delegating more. I'm trusting people with new responsibilities. And honestly, it doesn't matter what level of leadership you're in. That's tough to do, especially when like you are so used to doing it yourself. And, you know, now you're letting those things fly, which is important. And I think the next thing that I'm doing is really getting uncomfortable and going deeper into the things that I love. And that shouldn't be uncomfortable as I say that. But I think what it's really opened up my eyes is how much time am I spending on the things that I'm really good at? You know, we've done podcasts on the zone of genius. We've done things on utilizing your strengths. And I've had to look really internally recently and be like, is that something that I can only do, or is that something my team can do? Is that something that only I can do, or can I delegate that to someone? The other question that I have to ask myself is that something that I want to do? You know, because there's a lot of great skills that I have, but I really want to go deep into the qualities and skills that I'm really good at because they bring me alive. And I know that that's a privilege, and that's something that I think I'm getting uncomfortable with too, because that's not always the case. But I think that that's something that I really, really want to continue to focus on. And I share that because these are all things that many of you might be experiencing. Maybe you are in a season of being uncomfortable, or maybe you are so nervous to be uncomfortable. And I will tell you that I have been in all of those situations where I've wanted to deflect away from anything uncomfortable, but I have just looked inward so much. And I can guarantee you that the more that you listen to this podcast, the more that you find supportive people around you, and the more that you grow into the person that you were meant to be, it is going to get easier. Change is uncomfortable. But I will tell you, it's really, really powerful. And that's really kind of where I think today's episode is going to take us. So from my career moves to many, like from personal relationships to decisions that were very pivotal in my life, I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've also had a lot of successes, I would say. But I think the other thing is like I've made a lot of bad decisions along the way. And I've also had some really great decisions. And that's really what I want to focus on today, is like helping you understand the lessons that I hope that you can learn from me. And as I was reflecting on all of this to really prepare for this podcast, it really hit me of those moments that, oh, what if I wouldn't have made this decision? What would have gone differently? But I will tell you, it doesn't matter all of the bad decisions that I've made. I think that I've learned from all of them. And then they've led me to where I am today. So you're going to hear some of the decisions that I wish I would have changed. Now, these are decisions that I'm actually fixing, some of them right now. And they're also just lessons that I think are important that I want to carry on to you so that you don't make those same mistakes as I did. And my job is to coach people and to help people have the tools to navigate the decisions in their life, learn from mistakes, and build confidence. And so if you're in a stage of your life where you're like, Lisa, yes, I want to get uncomfortable. Oh, I'm so nervous about it. I want you to go in with me. I want to talk today about the good and the bad and the ugly, but I also really want you to just take a moment before we even dive in and reflect on how do I need to go in and what are the tools and resources I need to do that. Maybe that's utilizing our Lead Within platform, which we've just heard so many people raving in reviews about how they're utilizing it in their lives and how they finally have a purpose statement and they're going to live out that purpose. Some are utilizing it to overcome limiting beliefs, and some are utilizing it to gain confidence. Maybe you need a coach, and maybe you need that one-on-one impact, or maybe you're looking for a group and support that can help you. And my advice for that is all of those can be true. And I want to support you on that. So if you need help, again, reach out to me, DM me on Instagram at Lisa Tarkington official. But I think it's time for us to dive into today. So if you need me, I'm here for you. Please, please reach out. That is something that I wanted to start out this intro with for this podcast, because I feel so deeply that sometimes we need to give ourselves permission to go and do these things. And the more that I've developed as a person, the more that I will just tell you, going in might be one of the hardest jobs I've ever done, but it's one of the most rewarding jobs. Okay, so let's dive into today's episode. So we're going to dive into the best and worst decisions I've ever made. These are from career missteps to personal wins, and I'm going to share all of the in-betweens with you guys. So let's talk about this. I'm going to start out with the worst decisions. That's where we're going to start today. And some of these might shock you. Some of them are going to be kind of all over the place, but we're going to have some fun with it too, because I think it's important to know that these are all decisions that, man, if I could go back and do it over again, I would. And the first one is going to be probably a little shocking to everybody, but it is going to be understanding math and financials more. So when I was in middle school and high school, I loved math. I thought it was the greatest thing. And as I grew as a person, I think my confidence got a little bit smaller on that when I would say the math got a little bit harder and I didn't give it all my attention that it needed, because I used to be really good at it. I went to math pentathlon. I used to go to math conferences, all in my middle school years. And over time, I started to see different sides of me, that I loved English and I loved communications and I loved all these other pieces, that I kind of let math go to the side because honestly, it got hard. It got hard and I didn't have the support to really help me, and I wasn't really patient enough to sit there and learn. But if I could go back, I would have really have mastered that skill, because I truly believe in STEM, all of the jobs within STEM. And for me, financials is something that's very key in my job. And I think that this would have helped me tremendously if I wouldn't have given up on myself, because I feel like years later, that was the struggle that I had in my 20s, because I didn't spend all that time learning it. And all I had to do was put the reps in, right? All I had to do was overcome the challenges. And looking back, it might seem so easy, but I know in that moment I didn't have the confidence. And so one of the worst decisions I've ever made was not giving more of a focus on math earlier in my life. And that's because now as an entrepreneur, and honestly, even if you work in corporate or you work for a small business or any type of business, you have to understand finances, right? Like you're meeting goals that usually have to have a financial impact. And so the more that you have that lens, it is a game changer. So that is one of the worst decisions I've ever made, was giving up on those things, because I will tell you the training to get back to it has been very mental, and I'm still not even where I would like to be. The next one is giving too much attention away to people that don't deserve it. And this one's going to be for the ladies. But you know what? If you're a man listening, it kind of goes for you too. In my 20s, I will say I didn't get married in my 20s. I didn't get married until, actually, I just am celebrating my 1-year anniversary of being married, which is pretty cool. And I remember one of the worst decisions I ever made was giving attention to individuals who I was dating or wanting to date or pursue too much attention in my 20s. You know, instead of having the respect that I needed for myself, that self-love, the kind of just moving on piece, I felt like I just gave them so much of my energy, and my energy was valuable. And if I could go back, I think I would have really have told myself, like, they don't deserve your headspace. You deserve so much more. And I know that's hindsight's 2020, but I really want anybody who's in the world of giving someone so much attention that isn't giving it back to you, I want you to really think about that. And I share that because now being married to a man who I don't have to like chase the attention or feel like I'm not receiving it, it is very eye-opening to me about how like that could have been a game changer for me had I done that differently in my 20s. The next one is not traveling and having more culture experiences in my 20s. So I'm in my 30s now, so I feel like I've kind of done a little bit more, but I would say that is one thing that I just wish I would have done differently. I wish I would have traveled more. I wish I would have had when I had the freedom to do it, I wish I would have spent some time doing that. And that's a decision that I didn't know at the moment that was going to impact me. But as I got a little bit older, I started to travel more and I saw the experiences that I was missing out on. And sometimes that's because I was focused on keeping up with the Joneses, right? I was focused on what success looked like for me. But in reality, I wasn't setting myself up for long term. And I wish so much that I would have spent some time, even probably before my career, or even before college, traveling the world and getting that experience. Because I look back at some of the trips I've taken in my 20s, and those are experiences of a lifetime. And had I known that I should have done that earlier, I think I would have. I think I was scared, to be honest. And so if you feel like you're missing out on some travel right now, I just want to challenge you to really take some time to do it, because that is something that it is one of the worst decisions that I made, was not doing that more. The next one is a tool I teach you guys constantly, which is self-awareness. This is probably the most personal for me, because I didn't have self-awareness back then. I didn't understand what I truly needed. I tried so hard to fit into a mold that wasn't me. I always say I was like the square trying to fit into the circle. I just wasn't fitting. And so and not only that, but I overdid it with workouts in my life. So I used to do a lot of intense workouts. I wasn't listening to my body. I pushed myself beyond healthy limits because I wasn't loving myself the way that I needed to. Not only that, but I had a really hard time in my corporate days of taking feedback. I took things very personal. I always had a victim mindset, and I got very defensive. And had I known what I know now, I would have done a lot of things differently. But I think that if I could go back, that is the one skill that I wish I would have learned and had more self-awareness of, because you just see the world differently when you have that awareness. It's also very hard sometimes because you might be too aware, but that is one of the decisions that, had I seen what I was doing to myself, I would have changed it. The next one is mental health. So deep breath on this one. So mental health is a big word right now, but I think it was always a part of my life, right? Because for so long, and I've shared on this podcast how I let my mental health go to the wayside. I landed myself on bed rest. I always told myself just one more thing. And I really suffered because of it. And that's another worst decision that I've made, is that I allowed myself to get to that point. And I didn't choose me. And that's really important for me, is to choose myself. And so if I could do it all over again, I would have prioritized that differently. The next one is rushing. This is something that I'm probably still having some worse decisions on, is that I rushed a lot to make decisions early on without thinking it through. That's what I'm trying to say. And I made a mistake hiring in my career because I wasn't ready to be a leader, to be honest with you. I rushed to make decisions because I'm a problem solver. So I just was like, okay, I'm not going to sit on this. I'm going to make the decision right now. And I just rushed, and I wasn't patient. And I am going to say that this is something that I'm still learning, but this was just something that really hit home for me. Is that I rushed through my 20s because I wanted to get married. I wanted to have kids one day and all of these great things. And, I didn't embrace the moment. And I hear people say all the time, don't give up these times in your life. And in the moment, it's so hard to believe. But I really wish I would have had that self-awareness to not rush through those moments, because I will tell you that when you look back, what do we remember most? We remember those experiences and those adventures. And we also remember when we worked the 100 hours, but that's because we were wondering where we were spending our time. So I wish I could go back and tell myself, you don't need to rush to make decisions, because if you rush, you might not always make the best decision. Now, again, sometimes you have to, but I will say that's been really open for me on that one, and a big game changer now. But had I known that years ago, it'd be different. And I've already spoken on these two already, but I really will say like not taking care of myself and not respecting myself, allowing people too much of my time. I've already shared like the intense workouts that I used to do. I used to do 2-a-days and overdo it and just not love my body. And that is a really bad decision that I made because I chose to keep up with society and what I was told to do versus really listening to my body and who I was as a person. Not only that, but like I said earlier, I gave people too much attention that didn't deserve it. And that was a self-respect piece that I missed out on. And so some of those might seem like, oh my God, Lisa, those aren't the worst decisions ever. But you know what? They were for me. They were things that if I could go back, they're the things that still sometimes keep me up at night. And I'll be honest about that. I really, really work on being in the present and focusing on the future. But my imposter syndrome and perfectionism comes out sometimes. And I look back and be like, I wish I could have done that differently. And so I share those experiences with you guys because I do think it's important for you to also know that I want you to learn from my decisions and the mistakes that I've made so that you don't have to go through those things. And if you want to dive deeper into those, I'm happy to chat with anybody on those because I really think it's really raw and deep when we can talk to ourselves about like, yeah, I made really bad dating decisions. Sure, it ended out great for myself, but if I could go back, I would tell Lisa to love herself more. I would tell her to not rush as much as she did rush. I would tell her to be patient, to be kind to her body, to really focus on essential skills like math and really, really focus on those things. And those I think would have been game changers for me had I started those things earlier and really listened to myself versus all the voices inside. And so I hope that you guys took away some things that, maybe that you can learn from my worst decisions that I've made. And so now I'm going to share with you guys some of the best decisions I've ever made. And this is probably going to make me emotional because it's like I'm in an emotional state of my life right now in a beautiful way. And the first one's going to be my husband. So I shared earlier some of the worst decisions I've ever made was giving people too much time, especially in the dating world. I did a lot of that, wasn't healthy. And I'm so glad, though, that at the end of the day, I didn't settle. There were moments where I started to settle, but I didn't settle because I was waiting for the person that I was meant to be with. And I get to have that now. I have stability. I have a great relationship. I have communication. I have fun. I have laughter. I have a lot of things that I wanted in a relationship, but I was longing for and trying to get from other people. And so one of the best decisions that you can make is the partner that you choose to have in your life. And, I've heard that all over social media. I've heard that forever, but it is so true. I've decided to take on a lot of different opportunities in my life, and I always have that person next to me that's listening, who's supporting me. And that's really important, especially when I'm making financial decisions too. The other thing too is like, I shared earlier about my sleepless nights. I'm not alone in that moment, right? Like I have someone that I'd be like, wake up and be like, hey, I need someone to talk to about this. And they're there to support me along that way. So I will tell you, one of the best decisions you can make is the partner for yourself. The next one is being vocal. I would say in the last year, not even going to say the last 5 years, I'm going to say in the last year, I have found a new voice. Now, I've always been vocal about different thoughts and perspectives, but I've not always been very honest about what do I want. And that has been really hard for me because sometimes I'm like, well, I don't know what I want. And so I've had to be patient with myself. But I think one of the biggest wins that I've had in the last year is being vocal about what I love to do and finding a way to really live that out. It's about being honest with myself about the times that I've held myself back from things or put my wants on the back burner to make everybody else happy. And I really feel like me being more vocal about this has been very uncomfortable for me, but it's led to breakthroughs in my career because I'm seeing like, this is where I want to go deeper. I just need the time to do it. And then it's going to blow up. And I truly believe that when you have your zone of genius going on. So that's another best decision I've made. The next one is who I spend my time with. I truly believe that. And there were many times in my life where I didn't always do that, right? Like I didn't always focus on who I needed to be surrounded with. And as I've gotten older, I have just grown to find the level of friendships and family and conversations and relationships that have been a game changer for me. And that's what I want for all of you. And so I really think the best decision I made also was who is surrounding me and who's supporting me. And another best decision is spending time by myself. So a lot of people struggle with alone time. They're like, I don't want to be alone. And I think sometimes it's because we're scared to be with our thoughts. We're scared to go to a restaurant by ourselves because we don't know what that's like. And I will tell you, it's the best decision I've ever made. I've traveled to different states by myself. I've sat at restaurants by myself. I've gone to movies by myself. I've, hiked and walked and ran. I've done so many things by myself. And what that teaches you is to really embrace and enjoy who you are as a person. It also brings up a lot of different emotions and a lot of time to think and reflect. But I also think that that's been beautiful for me because it's allowed me to become who I am today. So another best decision that I've made. One that I probably rant and rave about every now and then, or actually probably on every podcast, is that I invest in my personal development. That is huge. And that is one of the best decisions I've ever made because I am surrounding myself with mentors. I'm trusting my intuition. I'm making decisions that shape my career, but also every day in my life. I'm practicing mindfulness and gratitude and self-awareness and gaining confidence and just kind of diving deeper into what I want to do. And I will tell you that it feels good in all aspects of my life when I'm really investing in myself. And that's why if you're listening to this podcast, you're investing in yourself right now too. And here's some other ones that I'm just going to run through as well, because I think that as many worst decisions as I've made, there's been a lot of great ones. And one of those is starting to follow my intuition. It's really sometimes hard to be like, okay, I know that, but I'm just going to let it go to the side. And one of the best decisions that I've continued to make is start to trust what my intuition is telling me and trusting myself. Another decision is taking the leap, being less fearful. I'm picturing myself the day that I skydived with my husband, or bungee jumped, not skydived. I've done that with my brother, and bungee jumped. And I remember that day and just like facing those fears and taking that leap. And I think that that's just kind of an example of every decision that I've made where I've taken the leap. While I've learned a lot of lessons and I've got uncomfortable, it was a game changer. So take that leap. And then do things even when they scare you. That one's pretty close to home. I think in the last couple of years for me, I've done a lot of things that scare me, but they're the best decisions that I've ever made. And so I think on this podcast, I've talked a lot about these different things, but I don't think I've ever explained how they have become my best decisions. The things that get me uncomfortable, but I go deeper in. They're the things that bring me joy and happiness. And even with all the happy things that are my best decisions, I've had a lot of fear and being scared in my best decisions too, because that's when my growth has really happened. And I know that might all sound cliche because you hear it so much and you see the quotes online and you're like, yeah. But I will tell you, when you get out of that victim mindset and really look at, okay, I want to make a change. I've told everybody the same violin story 20 times. It's time for me to make the change. I will tell you, it will be the best decision that you ever make. And so to recap all of this, because I felt like I just threw a lot at you guys, is that here are 3 things that I want to end with is don't be afraid to pivot. Just because you're kind of in something, if you're feeling like it's not a good decision, pivot, make a change. I will tell you, I think I've pivoted more in my last 5 years of my life than I ever have before. But I will tell you, when it comes to your career, your relationships, and your lifestyle, it is a game changer. Another one is spend time with yourself. That might be alone. That might be investing in yourself and taking programs, whatever that works for you, because it's so important that you truly understand yourself and what you need so that you can grow. And lastly, I'd love for you to think about what are the things that you can take away from my worst and my best decisions and really carry through for your life. I think it's incredible when you hear people's stories and you're like, okay, I can learn from them. And that's really what I wanted for today. I wanted to take a moment to let you know that I'm not perfect. I think you all know that. I share a lot on this podcast. I'm working more on even opening up even more with you guys about my different stories because I still have my moments. A lot of those worst decisions I don't want to go back to, but I keep wanting to live out my best decisions. So anytime I'm having a moment where everything just kind of seems a little crooked at the moment, I really look internally and think about okay, what can I take away from this and really make this the best decision? How do I go deeper with it? And so if you are listening to this and you're ready to take that step, that next stage, I want you to head over to our website and check out anything on leadconfidently.org to really help you. Challenge yourself to think about and reflect on what is my next best step. That's it. What's the next best step? What do you want to do for yourself so that when you are thinking about the decisions that you make in your life, you're looking at, I'm so glad I did that. I'm so proud of myself for that. And I want you to be proud of your journey. We all make mistakes. We all have our struggles, but at the end of the day, it's always about putting one foot in front of the other. I'm a visionary. I'm always thinking about what's next and 5 years from now and okay, let's work on this. But one of the things I've really appreciated is what do I have to do today to make the world a better place? And that's something that I would challenge you on is what do I need to do today to make my life better? How do I choose me? How do I focus on my confidence, my leadership, my well-being? How do I look at the decisions that I make to be the best ones? And so to close today, I just wanted to leave with a sense of gratitude to all of you for continuing to show up, to listen to the podcast, and hopefully take away some really great things that you can implement into your life. And if not, you've gotten some great stories from me along the way. And don't forget to always check out the blog when it comes to this podcast. It's in the show notes. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And just know that we are a resource for you whenever you need it. I want everybody to have confidence. I want to be a confidence catalyst and bring that to all of you so that you are just radiant when it comes to your confidence. And that is something that out of all of the decisions that I've made in my life, the best decision I've made is all the ones that I shared because it's helped me gain the confidence in myself to believe in myself. And that's what I want for you. So continue to spread love and kindness to everybody that you meet. And have a great day. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Confident Podcast. If today's episode resonated with you, head over to leadconfidently.org for today's show notes along with discounts to our services. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, leave a review, and follow us on Instagram and YouTube at The Confident Podcast. Your feedback means the world to me, and it helps more people discover the show. And hey, if you're feeling inspired to dive deeper, let's connect. You can find me on Instagram at Lisa Tarkington Official. Drop me a message and let's explore how I can support your journey to confidence and leadership. Remember, you have the power to choose confidence every single day. Keep showing up, keep striving, and keep believing in your potential. I'm cheering you on, and I'll see you next time.